And welcome to the 14th episode of the New Podcast. My name is Steven, joined as always by producer extraordinaire Kelly. Let's get to it. Another huge weekend of MMA. Maybe I'm just digging deeper, or maybe it's just finding me. I don't know, but it's been another good weekend of MMA. Some amateur, some cool, everything, all the above. Let's get to, obviously, the crazy night we had last night with UFC taking place. Holloway versus Ortega did not disappoint. And there was a little bit of other stuff, too. I watched some TKO. I watched some Glory 62. Kickboxing. They had a heavyweight tournament. One thing I really wanted to watch was the Copa Combat Americas 2018. I really wanted to watch that. Didn't get to catch it, though. Shitty enough, but one hell of another tournament. 8-man tournament, one-night tournament. Love them. Love the shit out of that. Lots to get to. Let's cover up some UFC or some MMA news, as we always do on the top of the show. I think the biggest news this week, Kelly, we were talking about earlier, was the freak out over the Khabib comments. And as always, stuff's taken out of context. It's not surprising, but obviously they're going to go with that headline. Khabib, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but Khabib was on a show in Saudi Arabia, like a talk show. The host asked him what his thoughts are on women in MMA. And he had said, obviously, the headline that was taken was women should be fighting in the kitchen. But they took it out of context. Obviously, you know, what he elaborated, and what he meant is he wants women to be fighters in the household, the fighters for the family. And the fightists, and what he had said is women should put the men in line as well. So, you know what I mean? So I thought, obviously people are going to pick and choose what they want out of it, but I don't know what people are in the uproar of. Like, shocker. Khabib is a devout Muslim, and that's just in their religion. I don't know why people are upset over this. It's who he is. Of course he's going to say that. So I was more shocked at the reactions than Khabib saying it. Khabib saying that, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, yeah. If it's his thing, that's what he's going to say. Of course he's going to say that. I wasn't shocked at all. World's got to get over their shit. Like you had said, Kelly, you know what I mean? People are going to defend his religion, but not what he has to say in his religion. So it's kind of an oxymoron, I guess is what you say. I hope he doesn't get any backlash over this, because it's not surprising what he said. And what he said wasn't offensive. It wasn't. I could see why people could be offended by it, but he was trying to make a compliment towards women that stay at home. And I'm sure, you know, just in who he is, his wife probably just stays at home. You know what I mean? Weird news coming out of there. Like I said, more shocked that people are shocked. Lots of matchups coming up. It really wasn't a huge week of MMA news. You know what I mean? Anything shocking happening. There was a ton of crap that happened to Conor, but I don't want this to be a Conor show. You know what I mean? It's too easy. It's too easy. Everyone's talking about Conor McGregor. So much out there. I don't need to talk about the guy. Obviously, he's got a ton of crap going on in his personal life. But the big news is that his next fight is going to be Poirier, not Cowboy. So he dodges Cowboy once again. And the big rumor is it's going to be Conor McGregor's next fight. It will be Dustin Poirier at 155, and they are saying early in the new year. Who knows where that card will take place? It sounds like an easy fight, obviously, because he beat him. Poirier's a tough fighter, though. You know, Poirier's not a dude to sit back on, and I think if anybody wants a redemption fight and who is going to come to that fight hungrier than ever would be Dustin Poirier. I think if Conor takes that fight, he may have bitten off more than he could chew, because Poirier is a much different fighter, and obviously so is Conor McGregor, and in the negative. So I don't know if he's going to get what he thinks and it's going to be another easy fight for him. Because I got to be honest, Poirier's on the up and McGregor's on the down. I think Poirier would have given Khabib a much harder fight, especially at where Dustin Poirier is right now. The dude's, he's climbing. And like I said, he is hungry as shit. Dude's hungry as shit. What do you think, Kelly? Do you think it's a good idea? Who do you think? I don't even want to know. Like I said, I don't really want to talk about a whole ton on Conor McGregor, but should he fight Poirier? If not, who should be his next opponent? I don't really.
I think he's making the right move as far as his career can go, because he wants to fight Khabib again. I think it's an easier fight than Cowboy, so it's more winnable, and he can. I bet he thinks that he can make a statement for another title shot with Dustin Poirier, where Cowboy wouldn't allow him to do so.
Very, very good analogy. You broke it down beautifully, because out of those three dudes to pick to fight, Khabib again, Cowboy, or Dustin Poirier, and especially Poirier's on the up. So beating, exactly, that's a great point, man, by saying if he does beat Poirier, who could be, he's already beaten him, is potentially the easiest fight out of those three dudes, he could get an instant title. That's a really good, you should talk more, buddy.
Thanks, man.
That was an amazing point. No, that was perfectly broken down, because exactly, if that's the three fights on the table, obviously he has to take that fight. You know what I mean? He obviously has to take that. Ducking Cowboy again. When Cowboy versus Conor was announced, I was shocked. I was like, are you sure about this? Because I'm pretty sure Cowboy's going to murder you. It would have been a good fight for Cowboy, for him to get paid, because Cowboy's always, dude who's just fought 100 times and always put on shows, has been a real staple of the UFC, especially of the, that 155, 170 dude, the very average guy, you know what I mean? And I think Cowboy has fit that mold to a T, especially to an American crowd. They eat that shit up. I love Cowboy. The whole world loves Cowboy. But especially an all-American guy like him, he's very, very good on his feet. He's got a ton of submission wins. He's got a ton of heart. That's what you want to see in a fighter in MMA, of course. Goes without saying. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Maybe the other big news was Jack Swagger. He was a wrestler, Kelly. He still is a wrestler. He's making his MMA debut in Bellator. Going to take place on January 26th up against J.W. Kaiser. I think the guy's 0-1 or 1-1 or something like that. This Kaiser guy's fighting, but Jack, his real name is Jake Haggerty. He's actually he's a pro wrestler, Kelly. He was Jack Swagger for a long time, but he loves smoking weed. So he couldn't ever pass, because in WWE they have like a wellness policy, so you can't smoke weed every day. Like you have to have no drugs in your system, nothing in your system 24 hours before you have a performance, a match, right? But he loved to smoke weed. I can't blame him. But he was an all-American wrestler like 4 years in a row or something like that, like something stupid. But he has a better record than Brock Lesnar at heavyweight for college wrestling. And like I said, all-American, the best of the best when it came to college. He's very lanky. Like he looks like he could have been easily an MMA fighter. Like his wrestling was that good. And he's going to show it. Good for him. Diversifying, being that diverse dude who's doing pro wrestling and MMA, has been documented on the show how much I love that shit, and I eat that up. And especially for him, he's a perfect example that could do it, because he's that all-American wrestler, the best base you're gonna find this world over for MMA. It's not just opinion, that's just straight fact. What nullifies jiu-jitsu? That all-American super strong wrestler. We've seen it time and time again. I'm a huge jiu-jitsu fan. But that all-American super strong wrestler is just too much for everything. He ground you out, grind you up against the fence, take you down at will, and then even pull off a strong submission. You teach that dude submission, you teach that dude jiu-jitsu, you teach that dude kickboxing, he's going to be a killer. And we see it the world over with the likes of, obviously John Jones. And the number 2 in the world of, badassery would have to be Daniel Cormier, only because John Jones has beaten him twice. Just those dudes who are the pound for pound strongest dudes in the world. I don't, they have pound for pound. You got 125 guys on that list. There's no disrespect to those dudes as being tough guys, but you don't belong really on a pound for pound list. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking like toughest of the tough. Like, you could put all these people into a tournament, these top pound for pound dudes, and they put a showing. The 125 guy wouldn't be allowed, really. You don't want to be even like heavy. Maybe he's like 150, and then like you're still like 5'2". Are you gonna fight like John Jones or like somebody like That's why I've always loved about K1 is their open weight tournaments. And Semmy Schilt just run the fucking ship in that whole organization just because he was like 350 pounds and like 7 foot. You couldn't hit the dude, and you couldn't let him hit you. Just imagine, like, his leg kicks and his jab were unbeatable. And that's how Semmy Schilt was like. I think he was like the K1 champion 4 years in a row or something crazy like that. I can't remember the exact stat, but it was a lot. I know he's won a lot of them. Even to come back and win a glory championship, like one of the first glory championships. I think he was like in his 40s. and he came back and won. It just kind of shows, like I'll touch base on it later on with my breakdown of Glory 62. It was good. It wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't bad at all. It wasn't bad at all. But check it out. I'm going to watch it, Kelly. When did I ever go off on that one? I love Jack Swagger was actually a pretty good wrestler. He had a bad gimmick, the We the People gimmick, like the Tea Party gimmick. You know what I mean? He was like kind of like the anti-immigrant guy. You know what I mean? So he had that whole angle. So it's like it didn't really work for him because he's not a very good talker. That's kind of always been Jack Swagger's thing. But I'm super excited for his fight. January 26th. I think it's actually at the heavyweight tournament as well, the conclusion of the heavyweight tournament for Bellator. So I'll definitely be tuning in, especially for Jack Swagger, honestly. Maybe have a match against Ryback, who has apparently wanted too much money from Bellator. And Ryback, another wrestler who's going to switch over to Bellator MMA. But he wanted way too much money, and he didn't realize what he was actually worth. Not very much. Ryback wasn't very good in WWE. One thing that disgusted me a little bit was Tito is basically out of retirement. So, you know what I mean? Don't say you're retired if you're not going to retire, man. Just say, hey, I'm going to have to take some time off, something like that. But obviously, Golden Boy is being very lucrative for him, and good on him. He's from Southern California. If they have another event in LA, it just makes sense. It makes total sense. California's been a MMA hotbed since day one. WEC is the reason why they were so popular, is because they were based a lot out of California. Bellator goes to California. Affliction was in California a lot. It's endless. The King of the Cage promotion was in California. They all came out of California because it's just the population is there and the love for it is there. West Coast people, I don't know. We make some decent fighters, but I think most of all per capita, we love watching fights. But I don't want to see him fight Sonnen again. That's what he's calling. He says he wants to fight Sonnen. Last week we talked about Dan Henderson being the matchup, which I thought made sense. And the only reason I was disgusted by it too. The only way I like it is if they both get money. If they both get paid, they both end up with $250 at least. I'll be happy with that. They got paid. Two dudes who aren't going to kill each other in the ring, but they could potentially put on a good match, and they'd have never fought each other. But Tito versus Sonnen 2, I don't want to see that again. Kelly, do you want to see that again?
I don't want to see
that. No, exactly. I don't want to see that again either. Sonnen sells fights too, but I don't really have an interest in that. I don't have an interest in that at all. I saw the first fight, and it wasn't very good. I'm not the biggest Chael Sonnen fan as a fighter. He's a tough dude, and all my hats off to him for that. He's very tough. He's got a lot of wins. He's got a few losses, and my hat goes off to him for stepping into that ring in the first place. But what he's got is a mouth, and I think he's an amazing talker. He's quick-witted, and I think he should stick with that. Obviously, once again, who's gonna say, oh, here's $250,000 to do 15 minutes of work against another old dude who's not gonna exactly knock your block off, and you have a chance of winning? Who's gonna say no to that? And I think that's the reason why we see either or. If I have to pick, I want to see Henderson. That makes sense. Both California guys, then Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen can make money with his mouth, but I just don't want to see it again. I saw it once. It was a very lackluster fight. It looked, just because Tito's so much bigger than Chael Sonnen. I don't want to see it again. That's for damn sure. It was reported this week, big news coming out of Bellator world, Mirko Cro Cop will once again try to make his debut for Bellator stateside. And who is his opponent? Big Country Roy Nelson. So we'll see how that turns out. Their rematch, Big Country won the first one, and I think it's going to be definitely Cro Cop's coming off of, he's 10-1 in his last fights. Sure, he's been fighting a few cans in Japan, but he's been active for a dude his age, and it goes to show how tough he was. He was fighting in the early 2000s at K1 too. Been around forever. And I think it'll put asses in seats for sure. Bellator's still getting it done. They're getting it done with these matches, and I'm applauding them for it. I touched base on Cerrone not fighting Conor McGregor, and his opponent has been announced is Alex Hernandez. They'll be fighting at the UFC on ESPN. Super excited for that. Coming over to ESPN, it'll just mean it's going to be easier for everyone to watch. Will they do the Tough Show on ESPN? I think that makes tons of sense. I'm excited to see who else they put on that show. I think it's in Brooklyn at the Barclay Arena. But I am very excited for that. Very excited to see it. But it brings me to this. What I thought was this was the first week Or I didn't have Tough to watch. And I was a little bit saddened by that. But it got me thinking, to my take of the week, is where does UFC go with Tough? Their flagship show. The show that put them on the map. Again, really, with the season 1, Forrest versus Bonner. And where it goes from here. Does ESPN help it or does it hurt it? I think it helps it. I'm just loving it. The possibilities, really, when it comes to ESPN, what that entails, the fans you're going to see, the different writing and video style you're going to see with ESPN. I'm super into this, and I just think when it comes to the Tough show is going to be great. But where do they go after 26 seasons? Where do they go? The most memorable seasons for me would have to be like the comeback seasons. You know, like the first you remember the first comeback season, Kelly? It had like Shoney Carter on it. It was, yeah, Matt Serra was on it. Exactly. That's what was the coolest part about it, is the winner of that show got a title shot. You know, that was fucking super cool. And look what Matt Serra did with that. Turned that title shot into a fucking victory, a fluke knockout. Hey, but no one can take that away from him. He fucking won fair and square. And no one can take that away. And the show got him that. It was a 185-pound dude, Luder, fought Anderson Silva in his 185, but almost won that fight too. He lost though as well. He was actually beating up Anderson Silva a little bit in that one. But still, you know, that was a cool season. The newest comeback season with Joe Daddy Stevenson, I like that one too. I thought it was a really good one. Obviously, the first heavyweight season with Kimbo and Big Country. You know, Big Country won the show, and he was kind of obviously pissed off because he didn't get a full contract. He had to be on the show, so it kind of he had a bad relationship with UFC right off the bat because of the TV show. And Kimbo didn't do good on the show. But he still got to fight on UFC. He made a little bit of cash, but we all kind of knew what Kimbo was before he stepped in. But man, did that show ever have people talking big time? And then with the newest season, I think it had a good decent amount of play. I thoroughly enjoyed it actually. I thought had a little bit of in-house controversy, had some great fights, and I think that's what you need. You need a little bit of salt and pepper, mixing in with that shit. And I think it worked out. I think it worked out great. And maybe do a comeback season again. But I've obviously said, well documented, I've said since our first episode, is how Tough needs to go heavyweights. They need to go heavyweights. The problem with them is that for the longest time, UFC has gone the route of looking for the lighter weights, because those are the classes where they need the help in the most. They need the stars in those classes the most. And you've seen where it hasn't panned out. It hasn't panned out at all. And now I think with the dissolving of 125, focus more on the heavier weights. Have shows more about the heavier weight classes. And I think that's what we've seen in the past. It's just they've been focused far too much on the talent of the lighter weights. Now the 125's gone. Hey, maybe 135's on the chopping block too. There's still a lot of good 135 fighters. I think that's where you got to draw the line though for UFC, is 135, and maybe trim the fat. It helps out the show. More heavyweight shows. Just do 2 shows back to back, heavyweights, or 32 heavyweights all have to fight together in the house. Something ridiculous like that. The one season I thought was going to be a lot better than it was the Champions versus Champions season. Do you remember that one, Kelly? They had all these champions of different organizations, but I think all those champs were 135. I think that's the problem. Those dudes were super eager to get on the show because they probably weren't making jack shit all for the organizations they were fighting for, because the dudes were only 135. And probably the talent wasn't there as well. But it wasn't a bad season. It wasn't terrible. But like I said, when you get the lighter weight classes, you have to focus on that so hard, people start turning off, just like they do the fights when they watch them. Who's going to want to watch a whole show of 125s? They don't want to watch 15 minutes of 2 dudes 125 fight. So why would somebody invest their time in like a 12-episode season to watch that as well? It doesn't make any sense at all. Heavyweights sell everything. It's been like that since the beginning of time. It's worked for K1. It's worked for other organizations. Heavyweights sell. But now they can focus on the new shit. But what weight class is what I had to think. Obviously heavyweights, but what could be the second weight class they got to focus on? I think it's going to be 205. With John Jones, who knows where he's going to be going. Daniel Cormier openly saying he's going to retire very, very soon. Where does 205 go from there? They do have some good up-and-coming dudes, but, you lose 2 of the top right there. that division, which would kind of was already lacking already as well. Have a 205 heavyweight show, all dudes in the same room. That'll create some controversy. You need like those Nick Diaz type people. The Nate Diaz's, the Diaz's all together in the house. When people who always keep it real. You know what I mean? Just exactly. But mix in the shit talkers with those dudes. Then you'll get some controversy. Obviously the heavyweights, obviously 205. You're yelling at your fucking into your microphones right now saying that's the easiest fucking solution. Way to go, genius over here. It's on a stupid radio show. But I got one step better. Open weight show. Anybody shows up. It was kind of like the first season. The first season was like Diego Sanchez never fought 185. Kenny Florian never fought 185. You know what I mean? Those dudes were just fighting because they were that good at that weight that it just made sense. The 205 dudes were 205, and that was good. That was good for Bonner and Griffin. They were bigger dudes though, but they were younger at the time too, so it was obviously easier for them to make that. But I think open weight class, it's worked. That's one thing that has always worked is open weight classes. It was the Dream Heavyweight Tournament. I think it was the last one they put on. And they had Jose Canseco, for fuck's sakes, in it. But I ate that shit up, and I guarantee you a lot of people tuned in. News stations tuned in because the name Jose Canseco. It didn't matter if he was terrible and the fight was a terrible joke. People turned heads because Jose Canseco was in it. And they all wanted to see him lose. Open weight, but that's what it was. An open weight tournament. Open it up. Get all comers. Doesn't matter if they're far too heavy too. Bring them in. And I think it makes for a great show, a bit more of a wilder show. Do kind of like a 25th anniversary show, like the early days of UFC. I love open weight, but maybe 165. Maybe 165. I can see Dana's been adamantly denying that there is going to be 165. A lot of people still are working with this rumor. I think a 165 show would be cool, and the winner gets to be the champion. Why not? And then you can fight other dudes of the UFC caliber. And maybe he loses, maybe he wins. Who knows? But I think if you do that, that's a great idea for a show. That's going to turn heads. 165 works for me. Maybe another show is straight international. They've done that before, I think, in the past. Straight international show. Not just to one country, but maybe make one show where there's a dude from every single different country, but only one American, though, too. Just one American. And if he wins, he wins. But I think that's enough. That's my other ideas. Give me a call, Dana. Got tons of other ideas, but I'm just so excited for the new horizon of the UFC moving over to ESPN solely for the tough show. I've loved the show. Been in and out of it. Haven't followed every season hardcore, but it puts on some decent shows, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Well, with that, folks, let's get to some MMA. Like I said, start of the weekend watching TKO, Canadian organization. I've been bombarded with this. I've just been looking a little bit harder and finding tons of MMA to watch. There's a lot more MMA I could even watch this weekend, but I just don't have the time. Busy man. It's water bills. They do pay well, though. I'll tell you what. The water company. They treat us very well.
GSP used to be the TKO champ.
He did, yep. And that was like their whole slogan was like building champions. Like that was their whole thing. Oh, okay. Building champions for the views. And that's what it kind of was. It's a smaller ring. Like you see at more of the amateur shows. It was an amateur event, basically. These dudes weren't very good. The main event wasn't bad, but these guys weren't very good. The talent, they're just amateur dudes. A lot of the guys don't have a whole hell of a lot of experience. One thing I do like, the plus is Robin Black. It's kind of weird. Do you know who Robin Black is?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I what's weird is I actually really enjoy him. Actually, his voice is good. He's always got something smart to say. He is a former fighter as well. Little dude. His voice isn't grating. I think he's got a good take, but I don't know if you knew about him before MMA. Do you know him before MMA?
Oh, he was in a band?
Yeah, he was in a band. Exactly. He was in a Canadian band. If you do enjoy Robin Black, probably stay away from his whole music career. May change your mind on him. Because the band was terrible. He was like a part of like a late 90s like space like metal space glam. You know, like it was like space glam rock. You know, of the late '90s that came out. It's atrocious. That's what, like, I knew Robin Black as a kid growing up in Canada, especially, you know, because you get the Canadian content. He was really, you know, since his band was Canadian, he was really kind of all over the place. But it was atrocious. And then when I first heard he was going into MMA, I'm like, how big is this guy? He's quite small, obviously. Like, I think he like weighs like 125. I think he probably fought at like 135, something like that. He had some wins and losses. I think he was like 4-3 or something like that. But you know, that's what sets him apart from other analysts. Is you need that MMA experience, and good on him. I give him, hat goes off to him, because he had the nuts to go into the ring and to take the time to train. Obviously, you got to get in there to fight. That's what you got to do. You got to get in there and fight. But I actually enjoy his commentating. Color commentating is very good. I actually enjoy it. It's kind of weird. I enjoy it. The other weird thing was that when the fighters went down to the ring, you know, the fighters go down to the ring and they stand on the mat and they take their shirt off and they hug their team and then they go get greased up by the guy, right? Their greased up guy wasn't wearing gloves. I thought that was very weird. I was like, hold on a sec.
Oh, that's nasty.
He was just using bare hand greasing them, and then he just wipes his hands on his sweater. I'm like, what the hell how amateur is this? That's what I was like, no, he just wiping his hands on his sweater. I'm like, you see, like the UFC guy, the guy puts a little towel on the shoulder. His hands are always gloved. KSW, their hands were gloved in Poland. This not lump all us in. West Coast Canadians and East Coast Canadians are very different. Very different. Quebec is it's like a country unto itself, Quebec. They speak French. We don't speak French in the rest of Canada. If you're not familiar with Canada, the rest of Canada, we have to learn French, but Quebec French is their first language. So you can just right off the bat, we're two different people. It's cold over there. You know what I mean? It's not that cold over here. Two different people. So I'm thinking this is a little bit different. It's a different place, but still.
I hope no one had an infection.
I know, exactly.
Your staff is now your staff.
I know, exactly. So that's the grossest part. Exactly, he's rubbing everyone's heads with no fucking gloves on. And then, like I said, just wiping his hands on his sweater. I was perplexed. Anyhow.
His sweater was a giant sanitary wipe. Wet wipe.
It was a weird neurotic thing to notice, but it was something that was gleaming to me. Like, it stood out to me like a sore thumb. All that being said, though, it was a good event. The arena was packed. That place was absolutely packed, and the place was jumping. Actually, it was a good rowdy crowd. I can see why they can be popular in Eastern Canada. I don't know if an MMA event would do all that well, an amateur MMA event. Obviously Vancouver, I think, Edmonton even, Edmonton had their MFC for a long time, which I really enjoyed MFC, but they don't have it anymore. Calgary, Alberta, would something like that fly anymore? But, like Vancouver's obviously the major city in BC. Would that, there is some amateur organizations there, but they don't put on actual shows, like professional shows. I wonder if that's weird. You know what I mean? Are the fans just not there? I don't know. Something to look into. The one fight I saw was just atrocious. These dudes, this guy comes out, he's 0-1, and he's already got like a major nickname too. Like he's like Sean the Celtic Nightmare. You know what I mean? Mead, like Celtic Nightmare. You know what I mean? You're 0-1, buddy. Just chill out. You may want to focus more on fighting the nicknames right now. And he came out and got his ass kicked. So now you're the Celtic Nightmare and you're 0-2. Not a good start. I don't know whose nightmares you're in, man, but you may just want to stick to Sean Mead for the time being, buddy. Just stick to Sean Mead. Maybe if you're 6-0, you can come up with a cool nickname like that.
He's going to have to go the Diego Sanchez route and change his name to The Dream.
The Celtic Dream. Not a bad idea. I think it works for that dude. He's gonna have to. Like I said, don't go with any nickname. I don't know if maybe like the TKO is making coming. That's what I thought. I didn't want to blame him 100%. Maybe TKO they want like, oh, I want you guys to be cool. I want you, hey, come up with a nickname. And I want to have a cool nickname. And you come up with it because it's a big deal. Everyone doesn't need a nickname. It's got to be natural. Everyone's got to need a nickname. The other guy he was fighting was the crowd favorite, and he at least had a winning record. And his name was Johan White Lioness. But it was a pretty amateur fight. It wasn't terrible. But the Celtic Nightmare wasn't very good. He wasn't anybody's nightmare. The other fight that was on after that one was actually pretty decent. Oh, Mateo Vogel, yeah, he was actually a really good grappler. Younger guy, too. I could actually see him doing some good in TKO. It was a pretty darn good showing by that guy. And I think he's undefeated. So, young kid, I think he was actually out of Ontario. But he had a really slick submission. He came in with one plan and one plan only, and that was to grapple. That was really good on him. The other fight was a girl fight. It was super mishmash. Like, it was embarrassing. The one girl was so much better than the other girl. It was Jade Masson Wong versus Marilyn Micheleff. And this Jade chick was just a professional fighter. The other girl looked like she just kickboxed a few times and never fought MMA. And it was an absolute beatdown. So badly so, Kelly, that the corner threw in the towel. But it's actually illegal. You can't actually throw the towel in MMA. That's a boxing thing. MMA doesn't allow you to throw in the towel. But either way, the ref didn't see the towel. He was too focused on this chick getting the shit kicked out of her. You know what I mean? Up against the fence. He stopped the fight shortly afterwards. But he honestly never saw the towel. It was very, very weird. But this is just an interesting rule. You can't actually throw in the towel in MMA. The main event was actually pretty good, though. That's what I'll give him. The main event was actually pretty decent. Charles Jourdain versus Alex Morgan. It was actually pretty good. You can see the skill at the upper levels, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a main event on these lower shows and it's total trash. These guys were good fighters. They were well-rounded, both of them. Alex Morgan was the champ. I think he's American, though, actually. And obviously Charles Jourdain is from Quebec. Let's break it down. TKO style, 6 degrees of separation. Alex Morgan. I'm actually mistaken. He's actually from Montreal. He spoke English, but there is a lot of English-speaking Montreal people as well. That's only in Montreal, though. Quebec City, you don't see that. Montreal is more multicultural, Canada-wise, where most Quebec, they spit in your face if you speak English. I'm not shitting. I'm not shitting. He was the champ. I don't know. Alex Morgan did lose. He beat TJ Laramie for the championship. He's from Montreal. 145. He's 9-3, 9-4 now. And Charles Jourdain, it was actually a good fight. He caught him with a sweet spinning back fist, and then caught him up and then got him with a nasty guillotine, really wobbling with that spinning back fist. Morgan didn't know what had hit him. Just a good combo, and he kind of had fainted. That's what kind of Robin Black had touched base on beforehand with the breakdown of it, how he had really set up a lot of feints, and then when he threw that spinning back fist, the dude didn't see it coming. 7-1. And he's obviously out of Quebec too. Good. It was a really good showing by him. Really good showing by him. He wins the belt at 145. And you know what? Maybe having be on the Fight Pass is good for those guys. Maybe you get a call up, injury, a Canadian show, whatever. But obviously, TKO is gonna turn heads and get people to come fight for them, just for that reason alone. And you get the Canadian market. You get a lot of the Canadian fighters, especially the East Coast, is a bit of a hotbed when it comes to it. It used to be a hotbed for goaltenders in the NHL, but it isn't anymore for some weird reason. And TKO puts on a pretty darn good show. I was impressed. All right, that brings us to Glory 62 Rotterdam. It wasn't bad for a heavyweight tournament, 8-man tournament, one night. Kickboxing, I always love. That's what K1 did. No one did it better than K1, and no one will ever do it better than K1. I think it's just talent-wise. It was good though. I love the tournament. It was kind of slow. The opening round, there was only one finish, and I think it was the Australian, Junior Tafa. He got beat by Jamal Ben Sadiq. Dude was huge, fighting out of Morocco. Guy was gigantic. I could see him going places in kickboxing. He knows how to fight, and he's got a bit of a mean streak to him. And it's easy enough for him to obviously take out Junior Tafa, who's one of the tougher dudes, but he was one of the smaller dudes in the tournament. Obviously, Jamal was ranked number 1 to win this tournament. Benjamin Adambuya, gentleman, Benjamin Adambuya. He was actually a really good fighter too. They both ended. They obviously the number 1 and number 2 ran through it and made it to the second round, and obviously made it to the finals as well. It was a good fight, but Jamal was just too big, even for Benjamin. You know, 2 dudes. They both had hard goes to get to the final battle too. No one had it easy. They both had some tight decisions. So both guys came out pretty darn fresh. That's why I got to give to these guys when they came out to it. Their third fight, Kelly, first round, they're both still fucking swinging of the night. And like I said, they both had long decisions for both their fights, except for Jamal. But it was really good. But right off the bat, you can see Jamal's size and strength was just way too much. Getting the KO with that crazy straight, he like wobbled this dude with a left and then just fed him this just a bullet of a punch for a heavyweight. Watch out for this guy coming out here, Jamal Ben Sadiq. This dude is big. He's a killer. He just got the size and the strength. Dude, and when champion wins $100,000 too. That's a little nice touch for that tournament too. Champion wins $100,000 in that tournament. Wow. And it saved the whole show. That last fight, man, these guys, like I said, easily these dudes were the biggest dudes of the tournament. They walked through everyone else. So then you put these 2 dudes together, and they did not disappoint, man. They saved the tournament, honestly, because like I said, the whole show was kind of slow and boring. But the final fight, that really woke me up, man. It was just balls to the wall. These dudes were just trading, and Jamal was just too good. He just was landing. Then the dude can even kick too. He threw a fucking huge kick. He's just massive man that just. He's quite fast. Really good show, though. It was very, very good. I wouldn't recommend it. You know what I mean? I would recommend it. But to compare it, obviously, K1, it's apples and oranges. It's nowhere near as good. But it was kind of cool to see that guy. And I think there's also rumors the winner of this will get the champion against Rico Verhoeven, I should say. And that's huge, too. You win $100,000 and you get a championship fight. But, Rico just looked unbeatable. That's the other unfortunate thing for K1 is no one has been able to challenge the champion at all. Everyone he fights, he destroys, just decimates them. But I think this Jamal guy is brand new, so it'll be good for that. They had 2 cards in a row. I didn't watch the second night, but there was a Canadian on the card, Simon Marcus. He lost for the middleweight championship. They put on a decent show, having the 2 nights in a row. I thought it was a nice little touch. Yeehaw. Good for Glory. I really wish I would have watched this Combat Americas. Oh, man, it was once again another one-night tournament. 8 dudes. First round was only one round fight, which I like. It's kind of weird, but I like that. They had Gilbert Melendez and Juliana Pena as the commentators. It was a good, nice touch, too. Gilbert can talk. And then obviously the second round of the tournament, there's 2 rounds, and obviously the final will be a 3-round fight. It works out here. But what's kind of funny is Alberto Del Rio is somehow the president of it. Kelly, you don't know who Alberto Del Rio is, like a pro wrestler, but he actually is an MMA fighter. He was an MMA fighter too before he was a pro wrestler. He actually fought Cro Cop back in Pride days. The stupid thing about Alberto Del Rio is when he came over to North America, he never wore a mask. But in Japan, he wore a mask. So I don't know if that was a good idea, obviously, to fight in, to like in a luchador mask. You know what I mean? Not a good idea. I would have liked to have watched the show. You know what I mean? It would have been cool. It was on DAZN. DAZN making some waves. I should have searched it up. I didn't search it up at all. I was kind of busy that night, anyways. I'll watch the next one though. Next tournament they have on. Tune in. Copa Combat Americas. I'm tuning in, just let alone for Alberto Del Rio. See what that guy's got to say. Wasn't really any notable names in the tournament, but still, I'm watching. You put shit like that on, you're putting asses in seats. That brings us to UFC 231. Great card. Just a shame they had to do it in Toronto. Would have been so much better if it was anywhere else but that shithole. But that's okay. Diego Lima beats Chad Laprise. So I got knocked out. Not good for the Canadians. Didn't have a good night that night, that's for sure. Chad Laprise, going down. I like Diego Lima, though. I like both the Lima brothers. Both good guys. Brad Katona, he had a kind of controversial finish where he choked the dude out at the end of the fight. Did you see that fight, Kelly?
No.
He had choked out Matthew Lopez. And Matthew Lopez got saved by the bell the third round, like that, right at the end. And when he gets up, Brad Katonis gets up, but Matthew Lopez can't get up. He's like, dude, he's out of it because he just barely hung on. And like I said, he probably went unconscious there, and he couldn't snap. So generally that would be the fight. It's over. Like, he automatically loses. But either way, he won the decision. Talk about controversy. If he would have lost that one, that's for damn sure. Oh, Elias, he beat at least one, though, Theodoro. Oh, beat Eric Anders. Wow, fuck, I totally forgot about that fight. Yeah, boy! Eric Anders loses again. 2 losses for Eric Anders, both by decision, though. His other one was last second against Santos, Thiago Santos. But shitty, you know what I mean? He takes this fight, he takes the last second. Now that's 2 losses on your record. That's kind of fucked against a very, very tough dude. I think Eric Anders needs to maybe go back to the drawing board a little bit and just kind of take it easy next time. There's something he's doing wrong. He's got to come back in a lot stronger. Maybe it's the mindset. Maybe it's the mindset. Maybe he's overworking. That's what a lot of dudes would always kill themselves before in the past. And Gray Maynard was one of those dudes where that's where I first had heard the phrase being coined, was that he overworks out. I was like, how the fuck does somebody overwork out? And you're messing your body up even worse. It's these dudes who have the mental mindset to just constantly work out. But to be a fighter, you can't do that. You got to have rest and workout periods, or else you get in there and your body just isn't responding properly because you've worked it out too much. You need a little bit of that fat. You need just a little bit of that fat, especially when it comes to fighting.
He did look good in the second, though. He knocked Theodoro down like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Crazy. It was split. Yeah, it was a split decision.
I think he lost it first and last round. Yeah.
Crazy. Oh, that's what I'm saying. He's such a talented dude. He's so talented. Yeah, I could easily see him being champ down the road. That's how good Eric Anders is. But maybe these losses are good for him. Maybe they're good for him. Jessica Ai wins against Caitlin Chukagian. Another split decision. Another Canadian goes down. Oliver Aubin Mercier. All these guys were on the Canadian show. Remember the speaking of tough, it was like the Canadian show. It was Canada versus Australia. And it was a total sweep. The Australian fighters they brought to the table weren't that good, and all these dudes had been fighting a lot. The Canadians. I'm pretty sure it was Aubin Mercier and Elias was on the show, and Chad Laprise. I'm pretty sure they were all on the show. I could be mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. The one fight I was shocked at was the Claudia Gadelha loss. That Nina chick, she really came with a great game plan. She worked that jab so nastily. That was one nasty jab. And once it busted open Claudia's nose, it was all over. But she really had a good game plan coming in. That jab was dirty. Like, I'm not saying that bad. I'm saying that is a good thing. It was a beautiful jab. Timed perfectly every single time. She didn't want to come in and do anything anymore. And it really, with the length, it stuffed the takedown. Having that jab made it so that Claudia couldn't even really go for the takedown. Because if she did, she'd have to do it at such a far distance that it wasn't going to work. It was going to be a terrible idea. But the fight that comes out right out the gate, main card, Thiago Santos versus Jimmy Manuwa. Wow. Fight of the year candidate just by that first round alone. It was amazing. I was kind of thinking when I was looking over the card too, I was thinking, this fight has the potential to be fireworks. And boom, fireworks. Man, they came out with a bang. Crazy exchanges. What a round. And honestly, that could have been fight of the year candidate. Both those guys. Manuwa got rocked, and then he would rock Santos. And then Santos would fight back, and then Manuwa would fight back. It was just nuts. These dudes were just going to town on each other in the stand-up, in the clinch. It went to the ground a few times, but Manuwa was not going down. Manuwa was a man on a mission, and he knew he could not lose this fight, even though he did. Second round, they come out the same way, swinging and banging just the same. But I think it was just Thiago Santos. He just landed where they had kind of in their exchanges, they'd land one and miss, then land another one. Thiago Santos just had that perfect 1, 2, 3 punch and landed just enough on Manoa just to dummy him enough, and it was just too much for him. Great fight. The fight had to be stopped. Good stoppage. And I hope Manoa is going to get another fight after that. After that loss, he better get another fight out of it. I'm pretty sure that's going to be his third, if not fourth loss. Or maybe he won recently. No, that is his third loss. He beat OSP, beat Corey Anderson. He's knocked both those dudes out. He lost to Volkan Ozdemir, lost to Jan Blachowicz, and then he loses to Thiago Santos. I think he's still in there. I think he's still in, especially if the UFC goes to the UK, which they frequently do, or anywhere in Europe, really. Jimmy Manoa is going to be on that card. I hope he got paid for that, though, because those dudes, man, what a fight that was. What a fight that was. But in that fight, it seriously sounded like Felder was taking advantage of legalized weed up here or some shit, because he sounded ripped as shit. Paul Felder? Oh my! Did you hear something? Because like he had like this laugh where he's like, I was like, what the hell? He sounds like he's ripped. It was like a super ripped laugh, and he was kind of being a little bit weird all night. Good on him if you smoked a little bit up here in Canada. You're more than welcome to come up here anytime. I like Paul Felder. And we go from fireworks to fucking molasses. And there was so much hype behind this dude. Hakeem Dawodu versus Kyle Botniak. And it was a terrible fight. Super slow fight. And it was even like they don't know how Kyle even won a round. That was the big thing. How they were up in arm. Even Paul Felder, he put down the pipe for 2 seconds and he's like, what the hell? How did the one ref give it to there? It was like a beatdown. Hakeem, he's Mean Hakeem Dawodu he's from Calgary. Lost to Danny Henry. He's on 2-fight win streak, but a lot of people there was so much hype behind the dude. Coming into this match, I was not impressed at all. I was like, what is the hype behind this dude? He can't beat like a total other nobody. They really gave him an easy fight, I thought, and here he kind of lays a stinker. Gunnar Nelson versus the other cowboy, Alex Oliveira. That was a fucking crazy fight, too. They started off with a bang, too. Cowboy really trying to push the pace. But what I really liked was how Cowboy Gunnar got on Cowboy's back into a nasty body triangle. But just the strength of Cowboy, he had to manage to twist out of a body triangle. You don't see that. That takes strength. I bet that hurt a little bit too. That was crazy to turn into that, get into half guard, and then to land some nasty ground and pound. It was super, super good. But Gunnar Nelson came back and managed to get the choke. Good, huge win for Gunnar Nelson. Another dude that really needed to win desperately in the UFC. And obviously, it's gotta suck to be Gunnar Nelson because like everyone, only questions they ever ask him are about Conor McGregor. Like, how shitty is that? You know, they're all asking, "Oh, are you gonna be training with him? Are you gonna be training and teaching him grappling for his next fight?" And it's like, what about me? What about me?
We are going to, guys.
Exactly. Just so you know, I'm fighting, not Conor tonight. It was like the Pittsburgh Steelers when they had to deal with Le'Veon Bell questions all year. Yeah, that's gotta suck. It's like, the guy doesn't want to be here. Can we stop talking about him? Even Roethlisberger put it best. He's like, oh, thank God that now it's officially he's not coming back this year. We can stop talking about it. It's like, it's you know what I mean? Obviously, they're reporters and they got to go in for the scoop, but he's not coming back. He's not coming back. That brings us to the co-main event of the evening. Valentina Shevchenko versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Good fight. A really good fight. Both girls they both came out slow, though. I'll give them that. They both did come out a little bit slow. Obviously, Joanna needs this win more than ever. But Shevchenko, I thought in the first round, she had a beautiful belly-to-body takedown. And I think that's what we kind of seen in this match was obviously the grappling of Shevchenko was just far too much. She's too much of a complete fighter. Joanna, she obviously relied on her kickboxing for far too much. And maybe Svetlana was in her head. Shevchenko, was in her head, from losing in kickboxing. Maybe that was it. Sometimes people just have that. Or some people are just I've talked about it before on the show. Sometimes someone's just your perfect puzzle piece to beat you. And I think that's what we see with Valentina Shevchenko here. Just the grappling was too much. She was too much of a complete fighter. And you can see it was a game plan, obviously, to utilize her grappling, which was far better. Even though she's not really known for her grappling, it was far better. And the third and the fourth, you could really see Shevchenko pulling away. And I think just Joanna she's lost her killer instinct. I think that's what we're seeing here, is she just lost her killer instinct. Where does Joanna go from here? Fuck, I don't know. It's one of those chicks, a wounded warrior. Where does she move on from here? I have no clue. I feel sorry for her because she was so deadly for such a long time. It happens to everyone. Fame fucking kills. Fame kills. You eventually, you get so rich, you get everybody telling you you're the greatest. And then I think you start drinking your own Kool-Aid. You start believing your own hype, and that's it. You're done. You don't train harder. You don't do the things you were doing when you're hungry. You don't have to. You got $1 million in the bank. You got sponsorship deals with just throwing money at you. I see where they're coming from. It's hard. I envy them, obviously. Who would want to do that? To do something you love as a career. And she'll obviously live happily, but I just think she's lost it. She need to find a way to get it back. But her killer instinct that Joanna had, that we used to see all the time, were her just destroying chicks. We don't see it anymore. And this is a perfect example of it. Maybe it's unfair to say, because she's fought, she fought Rose twice, and then she fought, Valentina, who's like number 1, number 2 as well. So that's the UFC. If you're the best, you got to fight the top 5 dudes all the time, or in this case, the top 5 women all the time. You lose 2 times, lose 3 times. That's not really saying you're a terrible person. It's just saying you came up against the other toughest people in the whole entire world, and that's tough. That's gotta hang a lot on people's egos. I couldn't imagine the stress that's got to take. That brings us to the main event of the evening: Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. Good fight. Both guys came out. First round was very close. They both had great exchanges. Ortega landed that nice elbow. Max, obviously, with that output. Hot tamales. Blessed has got the hands again. Not showing any effects of his concussion syndrome or anything like that. He was so quick. He was talking trash. That's what you need. You need that little bit of that mean streak. He was landing at will. It was just a beautiful match. The second round was much of the same, very even. You could see Max starting to pull away, but in the fourth, especially, really see Holloway pull away from it. It was showboat, and he was really landing combos. By that time, Ortega's face was so beat up. He was just eating punch after punch, and unfortunately, the ref obviously had to call it. Good fight for those guys. Ortega has got to come out from this one. He kind of got exposed just a little bit. But when you're coming up against Max Holloway, who's such an amazing striker, he got wobbled a little bit. He did land a few good ones, and I think this is going to be a good learning experience for Brian Ortega coming out to lose to Max Holloway, to be humbled a little bit. And I think it's going to be good for both fighters. And even Max Holloway touched base on it. It's the beginning of those two fighting each other quite a bit, I think, coming down the stretch. I highly don't doubt us seeing a trilogy with these two dudes. What's your take, Kelly? What do you think?
I didn't see the actual fight, but I saw it was ended 5 minutes into the 4th round. What was the official?
No, it was
reason?
doctor stoppage. Yeah, doctor. His face was so bloodied and beat up. Like his nose was busted right up, and he could see though a little bit, but I think it was more they were erring on the caution of concussion style, just because he had eaten so many punches. I think there was 500. I think it was like halfway through the 4th round, the punch count was 500 for both dudes. Wow. So they both had a ton of output but Max was like double. Max had like 350, and then like Ortega had like 200 or something like that. It was crazy.
Max is a bit more of a veteran.
That too, yep. That too.
Longer, yeah.
That too. Exactly. And that's one of the stats. He must have started super young because his first UFC fight was at 20. That's nuts. Your first UFC fight is 20. Now you're the heavy. Now you're the featherweight champ. Dana also had said that he wants Max to move up to 155 for health reasons. If UFC is going to go with this whole health kick and they're going to be honest about it, I think it's a good move. I think it works for everybody. Obviously for the fighters, longevity, and their investment too. They got to look out. That's the thing at the end of the day. Boxing doesn't do that. You got to look out for your investments with every facet of life. These people are investments, obviously, not for the company, but also for themselves. And I think that they have to have someone looking out for them. Sure, Ortega still could have went. He would have went out for that 5th round, and he would have got the shit kicked out of him even more. I think it's a good stoppage. I like the stoppage because he was beat the fuck up. He had eaten so many punches, and I think that's what he was kind of coming into, trying to come in with a bit too much of a tough guy style. They're like, hey, I can take all these punches. You can't really. There were just so many where like Holloway was like 1, 2, 3, like landing all these 3-hit combos like so crisply, so beautifully, following Ortega's head movement to a T. It was a quite a showing from Holloway to cement him as the true 145 champ. Good win for him. He didn't call out Conor, but I think he just called out the haters. I think is what he called out.
Yeah, if he called out Conor.
No, he kind of just called out the haters because he was actually the underdog in this fight. That's what a slap in the face. I think is obviously his medical reasons. You know what I mean? Good fight. What I didn't realize was that during, it was so crazy because I'm watching that and on the tablet, and then on the TV it was boxing. I just had something on the background, and I didn't even realize until it was the main event that it was Lomachenko versus Pedraza, and it was free. I was like, oh, cool, free boxing. I was like, okay, this is cool. And then like until the main event, so I'm like, oh, sweet. So I get like 2 really good fights, and it was a really, really good fight. It was amazing. Lomachenko is an amazing boxer. It's been stored. I've been kind of hearing, obviously I've been hearing about him, and I've seen a lot of his highlight videos. Great boxer. He's a littler dude though too. I think if he would come to MMA, I think he'd be like 135, 145. He's smaller, but he's lightning fast. That's what I'll give him. And he same thing, kind of like Max Holloway, where he'll hit you 3 times even with your head movement. And I think that's where he was really getting this Pedraza guy, who was tough as nails too. This Pedraza guy, he wasn't going down without a fight. The dude he was fighting was very game and very, very tough too. Lankier, very quick. Also, he had some really slick little combos and shit like that too. He wasn't going down, but the engine that burns inside that Lomachenko guy, it never stops. Come to even the end of the fight, you know what I mean? When he got that knockdown, he just did not slow down. The dude was just so quick and just constantly landing these punches that got a lot of stank behind him. His punches hurt, you can tell on this dude. Like, he got socked a few times by a quick little punch that honestly didn't look like nothing, but you could tell by the expression on his face that it definitely fucking hurt. Good showing by boxing, having that free card. I really enjoyed that actually with boxing. To have these big pay-per-views, it feels so gross to me for boxing, to have these massive pay-per-views. I know that's where the money is, and I know that's where your worldwide buys are. Understand that 100%. But reaching out and having a free card like this, it got me watching, and I'm sure it got a lot of other people watching by accident who weren't necessarily fight fans. It was a Saturday night. Maybe there's a bunch of people having a house party. You're flipping through the channels. Boom, boxing on. Why the hell not? You know what I mean? Something on for everyone to watch, and it didn't disappoint. We really had a great headliner with that one. And hats off to you guys at boxing. Good fight. Lomachenko moving on again. Is undefeated. I think he's 11. I think he's only like 11 or 12 and 1 or something weird like that. But you unify the titles. Good fight for him. Time we got here. Oh man, holy moly, we're going on here, rambling on here. All right, folks, let's take a quick little break. We'll be right back after these short messages. Ed Sullivan here with 2 talented young men and their new podcast. It's a really big shoe. Really big. Water. The government will kill you over it. Water. With Christmas right around the corner, go grab yourself a glass of water. Tall, cool, and refreshing. Water. When you work out, be sure to drink plenty of water. It does a body good. How about that water? Cost $1.05.
Water. Go fuck yourself.
Kool-Aid tastes like shit without water. And welcome back, folks. We had some riveting commercials there for you. I hope you enjoy them. And go get yourself a tall glass of water in the house. Let's talk some wrestling. WWE. I don't know, maybe I'll watch some fucking New Japan Pro Wrestling. Just TNA is not my thing. It's really fucking terrible. Really shitty. There is a local organization, though, ECCW, They have their big show coming up in January, the Ballroom Brawl 11. I've been to a few of them myself, and they're quite actually good. It's more of an adult atmosphere. It's obvious because it's at the Commodore, no children are allowed. And it's sold out, and it impressed me both times. The first time I went was absolutely amazing. But the second time was a little bit so-so. But it was still, I'd go again. In a heartbeat, I'd definitely go again. So let's start off with some Raw. Bayley coming out with a comment. I've been talking about this for a while myself. Tag team belts, women tag team belts. I think it really adds a lot to the women division. Why not bring it out? It works for those two girls. Iconics could be involved. There's a lot of these two-girl teams. I think it works out perfectly for them. Why the heck not? I really like the idea. Bring it on. Another title I want them to bring back is European title. They have bring it back in NXT or even like the UK show, whatever. Bring back the European title in some way. That was a good title back in the day. I was just thinking, which was the weirdest thing on Raw this week, I was just thinking when Drew McIntyre was talking, when he was coming out and Baron Corbin was going to give him this stupid award thing, how they just split up him and Dolph Ziggler without even really saying anything. And then they'd hear, of course, Dolph Ziggler's music starts and he comes down the ring and he's like, what happened to us? And, then we see the whole thing. McIntyre is much, he is the whole package. He is, and how he says the whole package. And they had a match, and of course Ziggler would win, of course, in the attempts for the writing crew to try to get to WWE over. And the rumor is that they actually Vince McMahon had changed up the whole storyline for that Raw. Now this is the second week in a row, just hours before the show. And if he's trying to give Dolph Ziggler a little bit of play, it's good on Dolph Ziggler, but I'm over Dolph Ziggler. He had his chance. He can move on now. He's a great in-ring guy, but he's a mid-carder, and he'll always be a mid-carder to me. Intercontinental Championship is the best he should ever get anymore. Great performer, but I just don't think he's got it. He's been given a ton of chance. He just doesn't have the it factor we see at the Law, other guys. How did Rhino? It was Rhino. Should you see Rhino if he's retired? But it was weird. They were saying he's also been booked for other cards in South America. So I don't know if he's fully if his contract runs out, then he's going to leave WWE. I think it's a good move for both people. I don't know how the dude found the fountain of youth. Rhino been in wrestling for such a long time, and he barely looks different at all. Rhino is still not obviously as shredded as he was before, but still a good performer, and I hope he goes to some kind of minor, even TNA would pay him a ton of money. He could go to any minor league right now and probably get very good paying being a free agent. And I hope that's what happened to Rhino. I always liked Rhino as a younger. He had no mic skills at all. He was terrible on the mic, but he had a bit of that crazy look to him where everyone I think people liked it. And I was one of them. And I liked Rhino in the ECW days. He was a major player over there. And we see a lot of Corbin's abuse of power throughout this episode, and it's really working for me. It's really working. What's not working for me is Dean Ambrose being a heel. It's not working for me at all. Him coming out with his gas mask bullshit and threatening, saying everyone stinks. It doesn't work for me for Dean Ambrose. I know they're trying something different with the guy, but it's not fitting. That square fucking peg is not fitting in that round hole. And it's not working with Dean Ambrose. For me, at least. Maybe other people are thinking otherwise. For me, personally, I think the storyline sucks and it's really dragging down Raw. And that is what they had actually said was, last week was the worst. Or I think it was actually this week was the lowest rated Raw ever. Ever. Like, that's not something good. And I think obviously with the injuries we've seen, that's the reason why we're seeing this. It was weird that Apollo Crews came to the aid of Finn Balor. I thought that was a bit odd. They're trying to help out Apollo. Maybe that's the work of Vince McMahon, giving him a little bit of play. And good. Apollo's amazing athletically. He's absolutely amazing. Maybe they can work him in a little bit better. Find a storyline for him that works. Maybe him and Finn Balor. I don't know. Let's see where it goes. I'll give it a shot. Let's see where it goes. There have been worse pairings. Let's see where it goes. It was actually a decent tag match for the girls to close out the show, though. With Nia and Tamina versus Ronda Rousey and Ember Moon. It actually wasn't a bad match, actually. They're doing really good with Nia being this heel. She's an awesome heel, and having Tamina with her works so splendidly. I think it's going to be something to come down the road that's really going to be good. Can't say it enough. I just love this triple threat match coming up at TLC between Becky, Charlotte, and Asuka. I'm really excited for that match, actually, for TLC. It's probably, oddly enough, I don't think it's all that odd, I guess, but it's probably the match I'm looking forward to the most. Honestly, it's all those girls I think can really perform, put on a great show, and to have it as a TLC triple threat works for me. I think it's going to be an amazing match. Cesaro. I never talk about. I don't know if I've ever said his name on the show really even before. But how could I miss like such a talented in-ring guy? He's really been through the circuit. I think he's had those few bad injuries with his shoulder, his knee, that have kind of set him back at times when he was really rising. And I think obviously his tag team as the Bar is his best suited fit right now. His teeth got bashed in, Kelly. Like he didn't break his teeth because like they have like the ring, right? You know what I mean? It's like a boxing ring or anything else. But like at the corners, they have like the turnbuckle that holds the rope, but then they have like this big metal box behind it. It's got all these lights, and the lights, they change for different people's entrances and shit like that, right? Like, tiny little pixelated lights, right? You know what I mean? And he goes for a routine move where the other guy that kind of like throws him into it, but he kind of just more uses his hand, right? Obviously, it's fake, right? Sorry to let you know it's fake out there for
what?
you. But he uses his hand to like kind of smack the top of this thing to make it obviously look sound and look worse than it is. But he actually smashed his teeth, his two front teeth. He didn't break them. He pushed them in.
Oh, damn.
And he finished the whole match like that. His face is just gushing. He's like his teeth, his two fucking buck teeth got pushed into his jaw, and it's just gushing blood. And he finished the match that way with like his face all busted up. Like I couldn't imagine that would hurt like a fucking mother. You'd rather want it to be broken rather than be pushed in there. Like, oof.
That guy made some fans.
Oh, exactly. No, he's an amazing. His in-ring is one of the best. Like I said, he's been kind of injured, but he had a crazy move where he had a dude on his shoulders. Xavier Woods not the hugest dude, and then he was spinning Kofi, and so he's got a dude on his shoulder. He's got another dude he's spinning, and he's like circling around and around and around. You know what I mean? The guy's a super physical athlete from Switzerland too. They don't really make wrestlers out of there, but dude, he had one goal in mind, and that was I want to be a pro wrestler, and I'm gonna do however. And he's really really good at it. Good for Cesaro. Like I said, I don't talk about enough on a show. How good Cesaro? He's not the best. He's not great at. He's much better at talking. I'll give him that. Not the best, but where does he move on from here? Is he gonna ever split up from the Bar? They need tag teams right now, and I think his tag team has always worked. And it's good that he's always been fighting for the belt. He's got a lot of tag team titles here, and good on him. I gotta say though, I think I am in the wrong on this one. I think I'm by myself, but the evil Daniel Bryan does not work. He's an evil vegan, Kelly. That's his whole thing. He's like yelling at the crowd for like eating meat and for like using plastic bottles. I'm just like, and he comes out in like this Kurt Cobain like sweater, and he's hating on people for eating meat. It just was really weird. Was he gonna come up with like the Greenpeace posse? Is that gonna be like his crew, and they're gonna come out and beat up people for like clubbing seals or like polluting? You know what I mean? Boo! Very weird. I'm not a fan of it. I just don't think Daniel Bryan's got the acting skills. He's always been the Lionheart. I just don't know if it works for him, because they did this exact same thing with Kevin Owens. When Kevin Owens first came in, he was like that hard-ass, tough-nosed dude. And then they made him too much of a heel, where he was just the bad guy heel. Now they made him too much of a heel, and they're doing the same thing with Daniel Bryan, and they make him a pussy. Like that's what he's supposed to do, Kelly. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to like run away from dudes and not, you know what I mean? It's part of the character he's playing, right? He's supposed to run away and not want to get in physical altercations, and that's not what those two dudes were about. Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan were always about the dudes who were the hard-nosed dudes who were gonna get into the physical altercations. That's why I don't think those giving them like the wussy heel is not a good move for both of those dudes, and I just don't think it works for. It's just me hating on Daniel Bryan. I don't think he was that great to begin with, but now since they're giving him this move, it is odd in me. I don't think it's gonna work, and mark my words, it's not a good move for Daniel Bryan. He's got to be the Lionheart. It's the only thing he's really good at. Samoa Joe is that dude who does it so incredibly well. Samoa Joe can go below the belt. He does it really well where he plays more of the tough, hard-nosed heel guy. He shies away from fights sometimes, but he does it. Makes it look so good. Samoa Joe is that perfect heel. It's kind of weird how they even used him as a babyface in TNA. Obviously, he was a heel over there a ton too. It works out well, but no one does it better than Samoa Joe in the game right now, and for a long time. He's really really good at what he does. He goes below the belt too. I think with dudes like he did with AJ in his rivalry, and like he's doing with Jeff Hardy right now. I touched base on before, that was that Raw. That Raw was the lowest rating Raw ever. But you can see no Braun Strowman, no Roman Reigns, no Alexa. That is a tough blow to take for any organization when your 3 top stars are out for a very long time. That's going to be tough to overcome. And this is where stars are born. This is where someone comes up, uses that lightning, and unleashes it, and they can somehow get where you want right now, because it looks like it's open season where they're giving the show, and putting people like Apollo Crews up. So it must mean good things for the lower dudes to make an impact right now. What I thought was weird is what happened with AJ and Charlotte? It's now Charlotte and Jeff Hardy. What happened with AJ Styles and Charlotte? I'm kind of weirded out why he's not in the Mixed Match Challenge anymore. What happened with that? That's very weird how they did. Is he injured? Did he not want to do it anymore? I was just kind of confused as to why that happened. Scheduling conflict or something? I don't know. Very weird. Very weird. Speaking of TLC, we're just, I think it's 2 weeks away now. Cannot wait. December 16th, 2018. Coming to you live, San Jose, California. Yeah, I'm excited for TLC. It should be a good event. Oh, they're doing the Mixed Match Challenge final, which is good. This season wasn't very good. I didn't really like the whole point season. They should have done it how like they did last year. I didn't really like it this much this year with the whole point system. It kind of just seemed like they were really just ramming a bunch of these matches down my throat. Didn't work. Didn't have the same feel like it did last season. I'm still interested to see who's going to win. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose opening up the night. I can almost see Dean Ambrose winning that one. That's what I'm saying. This rivalry is so shit. Even WWE's even noticed too, and they have that match is like one of the early matches. Like, seriously. Or I think I'm reading this backwards. Yeah, I'm reading this backwards. Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin. How's Braun Strowman going to fare when he comes back? Is that going to be his first match? Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. That one's a good one. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair and Asuka. As I said before, it's going to be an amazing match. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Just a singles match. And then Elias versus Bobby Lashley. And then Natty versus Ruby Riott in a tables match. Oh, and the tag team as well. Both tag teams going at it. Gonna be I'm excited for TLC. TLC never disappoints. And the best thing about TLC, next event's gonna be Royal Rumble, which is by far my favorite event of all time. Can't wait for the Royal Rumble. There's an NXT UK takeover, Blackpool. I don't know if people want me to talk about NXT. I don't mind NXT. It's just not really my thing. I love Ricochet. Ricochet is one of the best guys, but it's just like one of those things where it's necessary to have NXT, but it is a lower level card. Let's just be honest. They put on some very good shows, and I think their takeovers are super successful. The War Games recently was amazing. Everyone was talking about it. Every time they put on a takeover, it's always very good. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of like their lower level guys, like that One Lach guy. I think his name is like he's super generic white guy, and they got too many of those dudes. Get rid of the super generic white guys. They're like that tag team. They're like the greatest or something like that. They got some terrible name, and then one guy comes up with like a cup, like a red cup. You know what I mean? Like a red Solo cup. I'm like, what? They need to get rid of these dudes and get some. There's a lot better talent out there for NXT, but that just shows that they are a bit more of a minor league, and it's super necessary. It's very, very good for the WWE to be able to funnel in talent, obviously. And like I said, it's very successful. I'm definitely in the far minor of people who watch wrestling. Everyone loves NXT. I'm not saying it's a bad organization or anything like that at all. Huge week of wrestling. Huge week of MMA. Kelly's gonna get a ruckus. We're gonna go a ruckus race. Rick Roll and Ruckus. No, there's a sweet ride, man. I want to get one now.
Yeah, well, it's super cheap too.
Yeah.
You can finance one for like $16 a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Wow, that's super crazy.
Reliable.
They're Honda, right?
Yeah, it's Honda.
Exactly.
Super reliable.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to ride my old one to and from work every single day, from my house to and back.
Huh.
It cost me about $6 every 2 weeks to fill up, and I'd just take the sidewalk on the bridge.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, people mod them out, right? They put different engines.
Oh, I could believe it. They're super easy because
stretch them out, put fat tires.
That's
on
hilarious.
It, chrome it out, make it look like a mini Harley.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Smooth move. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, because I could do that from my place. Just take the bridge, just like on the sidewalk too, and then I'd be on the other side, and then it'd be boom, streets. Yeah. Interesting.
You
Something
can
to think
take
about.
bike lanes too if the traffic's going too fast. They can go on anywhere. They're allowed to go, legally allowed to go on like seawalls, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow, everywhere. Get yourself a ruckus, y'all.
Rock Riders.
Rock Riders. Anything else you want to talk about, Kelly? We'll update you in the future about the ruckus.
Yes.
About us causing a ruckus up in here.
Hell yeah.
Huge UFC coming up, 232 year-end show. Excited for all these year-end shows. We still got a few shows in between now and then. For all these year-end shows, we'll do our year-end show recap. The year that was 2018. Everything that went on, obviously MMA style. You know how we roll. You know how we do's it. Yeah, but obviously show number 14 in the books. That's how we, it's going down. Show number 14.
Good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Well, as always, yeah, we did hit the mark. As always, for producer extraordinaire Kelly, my name is Steven. You've been listening to the new podcast. Signing off.